I had thought about doing a video last night on what happened with the Blues, and I thought, nah, nah, I'll wait till the morning. So this morning we wake up and we find that they're still in the final stages of negotiating, and apparently the negotiations between the NHL and the NHLPA have been going on into the wee hours. And so, I'm going to go ahead and commend them. I'm going to go ahead and commend that committee for sitting down and trying to get everything all ironed out and make this work. And the fact that they are combining the coming back to play CBA agreement, figuring out next season and all that wonderful stuff, trying to do all of that at the exact same time. I commend them for doing what they should have done every single time that a CBA was up. Figure it out. There was nothing more frustrating than turning on sports and seeing Bettman on one side, and then it was Bob Goodenow back in the day on one side, and they wouldn't be together, they wouldn't be talking, and you'd hear, well, talks have broken off, and there's no talks on the horizon. Why not? Until you have an agreement, why don't you sit down and talk about it? Well, they got to go off. Cooler heads need to prevail. Yeah, you know what else needs to prevail? Hockey needs to prevail. And in the end, they would sit down and make it work, when there was a deadline. So, it's important to get this done. The NHL still wants an 82-game season next year. So here's where the bad news comes if you're one of these. They should just start in October on time. They're not going to. And secondly, they're not going to have hockey starting in October the following season either. This is going to be a shift in the schedule for a while. So if they're going to claw it back to a normal schedule, it's going to take years. Even if you shut it down right now, I don't think we're playing in October. I really don't. I think that we're going to see hub cities next season as well, where the NHL wants an 82-game season. And the NHLPA, it's in their best interest to have an 82-game season as well. Because again, the salary cap is tied to revenues. It's a 50-50 split. So it is just as much in the players' interest as it is for the NHL. I'm going to come back to that, though. First, yes, the news that broke yesterday and everybody lost their minds is practice was shut down for the St. Louis Blues because of positive testing. Numerous positive tests, that's it. They had to shut down. A, no players are playing hockey right now. B, no players are in a bubble right now. C, we are almost a full month out before a game's going to get played. D, we don't know for sure when a game's going to get played. I think there's people who need to just take a step back from social media. Just chill out a little bit. Just relax. Just, maybe go out for a little bit of a walk. And just, keep your 6-foot distance. Wear a mask if you can't. All that other wonderful stuff. But just relax. Oh, that's it. Cancel everything. Okay. Players are going to get this even if they're not playing hockey. If the perception is, well, playing hockey is going to make people get sick. Well, no. See, you can have an outbreak situation on a team. Yes, and the NHL wants to prevent that. But right now, players just have it. They're in the general population. They don't live in like NHL town. It's not like Whoville. They're not all off on their own. They're out in the general population. Of course they're going to have it. Especially on the U.S. side of the border right now where the numbers are much, much higher than they are here in Canada. And yet here in Canada, it's quite possible that you can have that as well. Shut it down. Shut what down? Nothing's happened yet. Nothing. It would be basically the point of, all right, I'm going to sit down in my car, I'm going to get ready to turn the key, and somebody in the back seat going, that's it, we're all going to die, we have to stop the trip right now. I haven't even started the car yet. The NHL hasn't started the car yet. We've got players just hanging out and practicing in groups as large as 12. Nobody's doing anything yet. Dear Lord. And I'm done arguing with people on online. I'm done arguing with them because, they don't want to hear it. When you try to point out, these players are going to get this out in the general population, they don't want to hear it. Somehow the NHL is going to make it 10 times worse. Meanwhile, Europe's like, yeah, we figured it out. We got everything under control and our sports are back. And Bundesliga figured it out, finished out their season without incident. And I remember when Bundesliga was coming back, people saying, they're not going to finish. This is going to be a warning to everybody else everywhere globally. This is going to be a disaster. And then crickets when it wasn't. Now, the other reason why NHL players want to come back, because I hear this all the time. Players are really, really, really greedy. This is just greed. It's just greed on behalf of the owners and the players. Why would players want to come back? Because the average NHL career is 5.6 seasons. That's average. That means that when you look at careers of guys like Thornton, Marleau, Crosby, Bergeron, they're factored in. Your superstar players who play 15 years, they're the outlier. That's not your normal. Now, Sidney Crosby, for his career so far, according to Cap Friendly, estimated to have made $119,740,243 in his career. He can stop playing right now. He can live off of his money for the rest of his life. The other end of the spectrum, almost the same age as him, Zach Trotman, $3,050,184. Why did I pick Zach Trotman? Because not every single player is making multi-million-dollar contracts every year. That $3 million is over his entire career. So he's making less than $1 million a year. This year he spent most of the year down in the AHL. For Zach Trotman, for him to vote on whether or not to come back, his vote may very well be yes, because he might be looking and saying, you know what, I'm 30 years of age. Now, while people look at the $3 million, they need to understand that's not all at once. That's over a period of number of years. I think it's 7 years for Trotman. So, and then you factor in taxes and house mortgage payments and getting car, and maybe, you got a young family. That $3 million looks like a ton, but you don't live on that for the rest of your life. And so for hockey players, I think they understand that their salary is much, much higher than most people will ever see, but their careers can be short. And coming back to what Ryan Kessler said the other day about how he can't go out and run with his hips, and the fact that, he's looking at hip replacements and all this stuff, his life is forever changed. His quality of life is forever changed. So we get caught up looking at the money and going, how greedy, how greedy. How many players right now are looking at a lower quality of life? I've run into hockey players who have told me about all the aches and pains and how they can't work a regular job because of the punishment that they went through playing hockey. And they're not rich. It's not, again, there's not some kind of Whoville for hockey players where they're all just rich and rolling around in money. For hockey players who get this agreement thrown in front of them, and of course they're going to be thinking about safety, of course they're going to be thinking about public health, of course they're going to be thinking about that. They're also likely going to be looking at this and thinking, I don't know what's going to happen. I know I don't want to get sick. I know I don't want to, have any potential lung damage. Nobody does. I also know my career is likely going to be short. There are a lot of players who have shortened careers, whether it's through injury, whether it's through just not translating their skill to the NHL level. Every day I do a prospect profile. Odds are some of those guys I've profiled already don't play a game in the NHL. Maybe some of them play 20, 40 games. They're players too. They go through all the same sacrifices to get to the NHL as the star players. They just usually don't have that skill level at the NHL level to compete and to make it full time. It's not as simple as, well, they shouldn't come back at all. Okay, so let's just say you cut out 2020 altogether. You just say, you know what, we're not going to finish out the playoffs. So then you go into next year, and people are like, it's still not safe now. Don't play next year. Okay. Then we get into 2021. October 2021 rolls around, and if the numbers are still in a similar place to where they are right now, and they could be, and fans go, that's it. No, we shouldn't play this year either. There are going to be a lot of careers completely ended, and players who don't have an opportunity to ever recover that amount of money. You have a league that never recovers that amount of money. You have a league that then watches as its TV deal falls apart. They don't get a new one, and never generates that revenue again. So for a Zach Trotman, who's made $3 million in his career, coming up now, a player of the same skill level who may be a fringe NHLer, maybe he only makes $1 million over his entire career, because the NHL then has to drop all the salaries across the board. And it's not going to be your star players who pay the price. It's going to be your fringe players who pay the price. We all get caught up saying millionaires and billionaires. I've done it myself. They're not all millionaires. Even the guys who make $3 million over their entire career, I'm going to wager Zach Trotman doesn't have $1 million in the bank. I only mention him because he's in Pittsburgh's depth chart along with Crosby. Crosby's 32 and Trotman's 30 years of age. The difference in income, $116 million difference. So when we average it out, The average tells you these guys are loaded. The numbers tell you probably not. It is a more complicated picture than people give it credit for, and I think the shut it down, cancel it folks are not seeing the big picture. I think that they get caught up just on the overall numbers of what we're going through right now, and they say, all right, that's it, just no. And both hockey players and hockey owners understand it's not that simple. So when you see practice get shut down in another city, and today it's St. Louis, and tomorrow it could be the Florida Panthers get shut down. It could be something in California, maybe San Jose. It's going to happen. It doesn't mean that's it, just shut it down before somebody's even turned on the car. You can't stop the trip when you haven't started yet. The NHL has started literally nothing as of yet, just allowing players to get on the ice and skate around. They're not even in training camp until 13th at the earliest, it would appear. So, again, I will do my best to be the voice of reason and of hopefully some even-keeled opinions. No, I don't want to see players get sick. Players can opt out. When they come back, they're allowed to opt out and say, I don't feel safe with this. But at the same time, there are going to be players who are depth players who, when they're offered the new CBA, they say, I may only have a year left. I may only have 2. I'm going to agree to this because I don't know how much longer my career is going to be. I've got a knee that's going on me. Maybe they've got back problems. Maybe they've got a shoulder that's never going to be right again. And they realize I'll probably never be able in the civilian world after leaving the NHL to make enough money that I'm going to be all that comfortable. So yes, they have a very good retirement package in terms of their pensions. Players are generally well taken care of now. But again, this idea that they're all like independently wealthy and they're all of them are making millions and millions and millions every year is absolutely false. And as we see a flat salary cap over the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to stay false. If anything, you're going to see it's not going to come out of the paychecks of a guy like Crosby or a guy like Matthews. Not really. Where we're going to see cutbacks is going to be to these depth guys who teams go, yeah, I'd love to bring you back, but we're facing some cuts. So either you take the absolute league minimum or you're out. And in the case of Trotman, who's at league minimum now, that might be okay. But for some other guys who are, say third line forwards, almost a top 4 defenseman, probably a 5 or a 6, right? So things are going to tighten up financially for both the league and for the players. And I think they're going to make, hopefully, the same decision with this. Whether it's yes or no, hopefully it's the same voices that prevail. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And again, when we see this, take a deep breath, look at it in the grand picture, in the grand scheme of things, and realize there are a lot of people going through this right now, and nobody's in a bubble yet. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys for helping build up the channel. Almost 145,000 subscribers now. That's insane. But hey, I will talk to you again soon. Oh, and I'm wearing a USA jersey because it's July 4th, and I don't have like a USA hat. I apologize for that. I certainly have at various times asked for USA hats where everyone's like, you can only wear that one day a year. No. So there's much like my Canada hat, right, for the Canucks, where I can only wear that one day a year. So I wore just a generic NHL hat instead. But yeah, happy birthday, USA. All right. Thanks for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.